There you are. Welcome back. This is a weekend project style episode. And you know, the weekends are great because sometimes it means you're off work and you get to do things you want. Maybe you've got a to-do list you've been getting to. You've got some yard maintenance to do. Maybe it's time for you to get a haircut. Or maybe it's time to address maintenance and or upgrades for your digital fabrication devices. And in this case, I've got a trusty PRUSA Mark III 3D printer, and I have a special delivery from E3D. Bam! This is an E3D REVO6. It's part of their new Revo extrusion system, and I'm really excited to get it on this machine because it means nozzle changes are going to be way easier and way less complicated than before. You may remember not that long ago, Claire and I sat down or stood up and talked about the Revo system. And we're at the E3D booth with my friend Claire.
Hi.
Hi, Claire. Claire is going to talk about something revolutionary. Did I get it right?
You did, nailed it.
And now I finally get a chance to utilize it, and I'm really excited about that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take you through the install process on this PRUSA Mark III. And then what we're going to do is do a print with each of the Revo nozzles that I have. It comes with default 0.4 millimeters. That's fine. However, a special delivery from E3D. Inside this tiny little bag, we've got, let's see, what's this one? Oh, this is 0.8 millimeters. This is 0.6 millimeters. And this, oh, it's a little baby, 0.25 millimeters. So at the end of the day, or the end of the weekend project, as you will, this PRUSA Mark III will have a REVO6 installed in it, and we should have 4 example prints, 1 from each of the nozzles that I have, and I'm really excited to do this. Here we go. So when I first got into 3D printing, one of the things that I absolutely feared was breaking my 3D printer. You know, when I first got into this, it was extremely complex to me and I didn't quite understand it and I was afraid of breaking it. And changing a nozzle on a 3D printer for someone who isn't used to it or someone who actually has some time in their 3D printer is an intensive process because for the most part, you're dealing with having to heat something up and unscrew it and then tighten it back up, and you have to tighten it to a certain specification, really, and then you cool it back down. It can be complex, and there are systems which allow for easier nozzle changes. I'm gonna focus on E3D's Revo system. To get started, I'm using E3D's guide by Will Hardy. Will, I hurt you.
You complete me.
And there are some things that it says you need to keep on hand, and well, here's what I've got. Zip ties. My Wera Allen keys. I got these off Amazon, and I love the crap out of them. Digital calipers, but the battery ran out, so they are manual. They're not digital anymore. A razor knife, where the blade accidentally broke off, and so now I have to be extra careful. Flush cutters and needle nose pliers. Milk duds. And an emergency Red Bull. I don't know if the trail ahead of us is perilous, and I just want to be prepared because I didn't hire a Sherpa. Let's get started. First, we got to turn off power and pull the power. No use in risking electrocution. Next up, I believe what we have to do is take some things apart from here. It's almost at the very top. What I'm gonna do is just turn both of these to make it be in more of a manageable space, kind of right here. The directions are for a Mark III's. This is very much not a Mark III's. So what I'm gonna do is take this apart to the best of my abilities. Okay, next up is this part. I believe this has to come out right here because that's kind of holding in the hot end part. So if I do one there, Pops out. Hello, E3D V6. Oh, you know what I do need to do? I need to release the zip ties. Much better. Well, I got it to this point. It looks like there was just a single screw kind of holding it in. So now I got to release these screws right here. These are going to be the last two that hold the extruder motor in place. There we go. The documentation says to put it in and then slot it into place, I guess. Is this what it was like in the before time? Well, with brute force, I got it out. But apparently, back in the old days, this is how it was done. I have to take the sleeve off all the way, and then we'll go back to the board and get the thermistor and the heater core unplugged, and then get the new one plugged in. I need to turn it on its side because the electronics box isn't necessarily the easiest, and then I'm going to use my phone to take a picture. So now that I know where the heater goes and the thermistor goes, what I can do is get out this. This is the REVO6, and you can see it comes with a fan, but because we're installing it in the PRUSA machine, we can just use the fan that's already there, and we can set this to the side, and this is what we're left with. This is going to be for the heater, this is going to be for the thermistor, and we just have to match it up with some wires that go into the box, and then we should be good to go. This is the end right here that was in the PRUSA initially, and these over here are the wires from E3D. Now there's no polarity because it's just the heater core. What I need to do is unscrew the wires here and put these wires into that. I have some awesome tiny screwdrivers at home.
Eventually.
Ha ha ha! Come on out. Aww. New going in. There we go. Both of those are in incredibly well, and so the heater portion is now good to go. Just to give you an idea, this is the electronics box, and I don't remember if this is the one that I built or if this is the one that came pre-assembled, but this wire right here, and it's got an end on it. It's got a little lock, so it locks into place. Ha ha ha! We fold it out. Here we go. This is the old heater, heatsink, thermistor, nozzle. This is everything. Wow. So I know I've looked ahead in the instructions, and this PTFE tube here I'm supposed to save. So let's just set this aside and make sure it doesn't go walking off. The end that E3D gives you for the thermistor, it does not have a lock on it. It just slides into place. Just gotta make sure you get on the pins. And I did. So now on this one, it's gonna go right there. The instructions tell me to remove the PTFE that comes with it. There is not PTFE that comes with it. What? So what I need to do is take out the PTFE tube from here, put it into here, mark 10 millimeters, and then cut it off. It doesn't go nearly as far, and this is where we need to mark. The instructions tell you 10 millimeters, and it is not 10 millimeters. It is more that is needed, so we got to figure something out there. What I can do now is make it the same length. A new conical entrance to the trimmed end. That's here. You can use a drill bit to do this. I don't have my drill bits handy, so we are gonna use this. Now, we can put that into here. Call it clamp on, push down. Good to go. Now we can put it inside here. I have no idea what's gonna happen. There we go. Okay, that's in. This is coming together. know, typically when we talk about a weekend project and it's for something around the house, it usually means at least 2 or more trips to the hardware store. Whereas this one, we didn't have to go to the hardware store. We had all the parts we needed. Perfect. That's good. Now that this part is essentially put back together, now we have to concentrate on the electronics box and where all of these wires route to. Then of course, we tie wrap some things and make it look pretty and hopefully get ourselves a brand new Mark III. So zip ties are gonna go right here. And it's specific in the wires that they hold and the positions that they hold them in. So if I remember right, this way. And so this one, the other ones are gonna hold the heater wire and the thermistor wire in place before the wire wrap comes into play. One thing to remember, the wires that are in this area are constantly under motion. And so it's in your best interest to get everything routed properly and in its right place. So how these work, this is kind of fun. The wire wrap now comes into play, and we don't wrap the thermistor or the heater wires just yet. This may be different for your 3D printer. Again, I'm working with a PRUSA Mark III. Oh, before I forget, what the old ones do, I don't know if they still do it now, they included a piece of 2.85 millimeter nylon, and that adds stiffness. Don't worry about excess wire. We'll take care of that once we get to the end. The final wire wrap stuff in there. It's got a zip tie to hold it all into place, and then it's got a zip tie. Let's see, so there's and any wires that are left over, such as these that we just put in, we fold them up nicely on the inside. And just like that, got ourselves an upgraded PRUSA Mark III. Turning on in 3, 2, 1. Look at that. Ow! So it's on, and you can see that both the bed thermistor and the heater thermistor are working. PRUSA i3 Mark III, okay. There's probably a new firmware for this. But now let's do this. Let's go to calibration, and let's do a PID tune. And I'm gonna do 210, that's good. So what this is gonna do is heat up the hot end to 210, bring it back down to cooling, up and down a few times. And that's just so it knows how much power. Essentially, when it's doing a PID tuning, it has to get it to a certain temperature. So what it's evaluating is how fast it cools, and then once it heats it, how fast it heats it. Because it doesn't wanna, if I'm PID tuning to 210, if it drops the temperature down to 190 and then it heats it up to 230, that's gonna be bad. And so it's trying to find that Goldilocks zone. I'm just gonna let it do this. I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna get some lunch.
A few moments later.
PID tuning is done, and now it's time for some prints. I've got some Protopasta High Five Blue because of course I did, come on.
Come on.
We're gonna load this up, get it preheated, warmed up, and then I think we initiate this with some prints. Let's do it. By the way, this spool holder is from SNR Tech Bytes. Sent it to me during a Fan Mail Friday one time, and it's been super useful. Bless your heart. Thanks for sending that in. It's loading. There's blue filament coming out. Wait, I'm just gonna say no, so that more filament can come out. Look at that. Yes. Yes. Print is done. I just did the whistle because why not? Pop right off. Print quality on that is darn decent. Let's bring it over here. We can take a look at it in our mess. There it is. There's the whistle. JP, Joseph Prusa, simple whistle design. Walls look good, top layers are good. One surefire way to test this. Whistle test in 3, 2, 1. Holy crap! Like, I knew it was gonna be loud, and I hadn't blown on it before, but like, that was loud.
OM goodness.
It looks like we have a functioning 3D printer, and I'm really excited about that. And now what I wanna do is swap to another nozzle. So in order to do this, you do have to pull the filament out because the filament is inside. Preheat, PLA, perfect. And then I am going to move the Z-axis up just a smidgen. As this preheats, look at that. That is a Revo nozzle, and the green here indicates that it is a 0.8 nozzle. Let's unload the filament. So now you can change a nozzle when it's hot, but it is hot. You do run the risk of burning yourself. You can do it while it's cold too. What I'm gonna do, I am going to cool things down. Perfect, I've left the bed on. I'm cooling the nozzle down, and in fact, just not powering it, so it'll get to a temperature where it's easier for me to handle. And then what I'll do is I'll put on this 0.8 nozzle, and we'll do a print. All right, we're about at 80 C. I mean, it's warmish, so I will try to, there we go. It does have the silicone side on it, so it's easy enough to grip. Hardware changes or calibration, we should be at the point where we can just configure our slicer to use 0.8 for our nozzle size and then configure a proper layer height, and then we get to printing. We'll get a print with the 0.8 millimeter nozzle, we'll get a print with the 0.6 and a print with the 0.25, and hopefully I can show you some really cool stuff. So let's do it. To the printing. There we go, prints are done. And I think they turned out really great, and I've got one incredibly useful one, so let's take a look at them. So first was the whistle, 0.4. Oh boy, really loud. In my Protopasta Hi-Fi Blue. Next up was this sugar glider cube. Look at it, this is from Cinderwing 3D, and this is in that same Protopasta Hi-Fi Blue using the 0.8 millimeter Revo nozzle. And look at him, he's got a wiggly tail, and these indentations on the bottom are so he and other sugar gliders can stack on top of the other like sugar cubes. It's really, really cool. I love it a lot. I've printed a lot of these for my Etsy shop. People really love them, so I'm just gonna keep printing them. And this one, I might keep for myself. Next, I thought I would go teeny tiny and print the smallest Imperial Dragon I could possibly print. Now, the lens that's on that camera that you're staring at the dragon with is not tight enough. It's not tight enough to actually look at it. And since I'm filming myself, when it was finished and when I got it off of the build plate, I decided to film at that moment. There you go. So this print on the build plate, super duper tiny. Super duper tiny. Here is a penny next to it. So the size of this print, super duper tiny. What I want to do though, I want to get it off the build plate, and I'm scared to because, again, it's so tiny. Oh no, lost a foot! One lonely foot, gone forever. But hey, we got it off the build plate. Crazy, right? Absolutely crazy. Now, as you could see in that video, and I don't know if you can see in this one because it's just not that tight, it's a little stringy and it's a little delicate to say the least, but I really like it. And this is with the 0.25 millimeter Revo nozzle. You can fine tune this, I suppose. I was using the quantum filament from Matter Hackers, and you can kind of tell it's kind of goldish and purplish, and it's a lot of fun. I've never used smaller than 0.4 millimeters before. And so my only thoughts are going smaller of the things that I know about. But if you've used smaller nozzles, what do you print with those? Please let me know in the comments, because now that I have access to one and it's easy to put on and use, I'd like to use it a lot more. Now, finally, with the 0.6 millimeter Revo nozzle, I wanted to do something a little bit more practical, and I wanted to use something different than PLA, because these nozzles should be able to print the gamut of materials that the PRUSA can throw at it, and PETG is probably one of the most common non-PLA materials that people are going to use. So I went to printables.com and I printed out this Revo nozzle holder. Let's get it off the build plate. Pops off. That's so satisfying.
Oh, that feels good.
This is a nozzle holder, and here's the idea. So I've got my 0.6 millimeter on there right now. This is 0.4, so that'll go, get in there, right there. And then on this side, the yellow one is 0.25, and then 0.6, and then 0.8 can go right there. And then what you can do is take this, and it slots right there onto the PRUSA. And Claire on Twitter from E3D, bless her kind heart, I took a picture of the 0.8 millimeter package when I was showing off a print, and she said she loves packaging, and she made sure that all of the Revo packaging is recyclable. So these cardboard boxes I hold in my hand, those get to be recycled.
Nailed it.
I am super satisfied with this. When I talked to Claire and I got wind of the Revo system and I first got to see it, I was super excited to try this out because, like I said at the beginning, changing a nozzle was something that I was really anxious about in the beginning. Now, not so much, but it's still a process. And now with the Revo system, I can do it hot or cold. I do need to remove the filament before I do it, obviously, but it works out really, really well. It reduces the complexity, it reduces the anxiety, and it allows me and now others to print with different sizes, utilizing different materials, and just making the printer more of a machine and a tool that you can use in your digital fabrication process. So what I just showed you here is the REVO6. It's that direct swap in that you can swap out an E3D V6 and swap in a REVO6. The fine folks at E3D also sent along a Revo Micro. It's meant as a smaller form factor and something that still gives the performance of a Revo system but fits smaller systems. I think people are putting these on their PRUSA Minis, or with that sort of mount up top. I could see this being put on the effector of a Delta style 3D printer, but I've got this as well, and E3D wanted me to take a look. What machine would you suggest that I put this on? And maybe we'll fumble our way through an install there. I really appreciate E3D sending these along. No money switched hands, no requirements were made of me. They just said, here you go, have a look, let us know what you think. And so that's what I think. But I like this product, and having tried it, I do believe in it. So I reached out to Pooch over at Repcord, and I picked up 2 more REVO6 sets from Repcord. I purchased these so that I could put these on a couple of my farm Mark 3S Plus 3D printers to be able to swap nozzles at the farm. So if someone were to do a custom order and I can utilize a 0.6 or a 0.8 nozzle to speed things along, I now can much easier. Thank you for selling these, Pooch. I appreciate it. I'll put a link down in the description if you want to pick one up from Repcord as well.
I just want to thank y'all so much.
So much happened here. I'm really excited about it. Thanks for joining me on this process. I'm really happy you made it this far. And if you did make it this far, you are awesome. Don't forget to hug each other more, fight for a cause you believe in, swap all your nozzles. And as always, high five.